All right, we got parts, baby. We're ready to get going on this project. Finally, everything came in. So I'm super eager to get this safe to run and turn on and really confirm everything is healthy. We'll go ahead and quickly run through what we got, and then I want to get straight to it. So first and foremost, to turn it on safely, we need to replace the 2-prong with a 3-prong. This thing's already shocked me a couple times in quick little testing. 120 volts in the chassis, not fun. So we got a standard 3-prong here, just a little bit extra long in case, an amp head. I tend to like a bit of a longer cable since it's higher up in the air. And then we got a box full of parts. So I think I might have shown some of this already earlier. It's been about a week since all this has been ordered, waiting for it to come in. So I don't remember exactly, but there's some parts I want to shout out specifically because a very, very kind gentleman named Caio provided all of these for us to kind of get this project rolling. And man, so kind and generous. He has some vintage Iskra and Pyre resistors here. Got a couple 100Ks if we want to stick to those for the bias leaks, and then a couple 33K options there. And then crucially, he provided 2.68s, which these are really hard to find, and 0.68 mustards. And he happened to have these, and so really awesome to be able to swap these in since this amp was converted to super lead spec, at least about 80% there. And these are kind of crucial components of that. So the plan is to stick to the super lead spec, at least in the beginning, since it's already kind of converted there. And then we can make a call if we want to go back to super bass later on down the line. But let's start kind of with the least change of where it's at right now, and then we can figure it out later. Maybe I'll do a comparison before and after or something, but these are really important to get that super lead set up. So shout out to you, Caio. You're awesome. Thank you so much for chipping in for this project. In fact, let me pull up his Instagram because he does some awesome stuff, and I want to give him a shout out. He didn't ask me to do this, but he absolutely deserves it. So his company is called Purplenoisefx. See that, and he does fuzz stuff along with other stuff, but basically custom pedals, custom clones, and his work is amazing. Uses all vintage components. It just looks amazing. Fuzz face stuff. If you're a fuzz head, he's your guy. So definitely check him out. He's awesome and just a full-on nerd about all this stuff. And yeah, helping the cause. So huge shout out to you, Caio. If you're interested in any of his stuff, check him out on Instagram, Purplenoisefx. And outside of those, there's some other components here. I think I might have gone through the diodes and the bypass caps here. But we got some more mustards. We got some 0.1s. So these are for the phase inverter coupling caps in the super bass spec, which it still has. I believe, if I remember correctly, still has 0.1s in that position, whereas the super lead would have 0.022s. So we've got those, and then we've also got some of these 0.027s, which is effectively the same thing. And these are also mustards. They were Bianchi, but as I recall, as I understand it, they're made by Philips just out of their other factory in like Brazil or something. But they're effectively the same thing, just much, much more affordable. I couldn't find any 0.022s, so this will do. And then just a couple last remaining Iskra resistors here, 2.7K and 56K. So yeah, we got parts, and man, I'm so excited to get this thing rolling. So let's get to it. Oh, actually, one more thing before I forget. I do have replacement caps for all of these daily 50 microfarad dual can caps. Now, I have ARS replacements. I'm not going to replace them right away. I'm going to first get the amp to be on and safe and all of that, and then I want to hear it. I want to hear how noisy it is. Does it sound like it's got some cap problems? Because I've heard a lot of things about just the massive tonal changes you get with modern dual can caps in these vintage Marshalls. I don't know how much validity there is to that. I don't really hear about that in the Fender world, for example. It's not really a thing, but I don't really completely understand how all of this is done in the Marshall versus the Fenders. This is my first Marshall I've ever had, first one I've ever looked at in person, first one I've ever opened up, lots of firsts here. So I'm taking things, carefully. I didn't go F&T, I went ARS based off of some feedback from several people I trust in, based off of what they thought the tonal change was. And we'll give it a shot. But yeah, that's not going to be the immediate thing. That'll be a little bit further in to the restoration. Just wanted to point that out in case anybody starts commenting, and I forget to mention that. So, okay, let's go ahead and flip it around, get the soldering iron running, and get going. Does anyone know where I can get a replacement for one of these pieces right here? They're so chewed up. It would be great to have a replacement for those. So if anybody knows, let me know. That would be fantastic. So now we got the fuse out of the way. We can go ahead and disconnect the neutral and the hot wires here. Officially my first time ever touching a soldering iron to a Marshall. Cross that off the list. So now that we got the 2-prong out, we can go ahead and start game planning the 3-prong wiring. It's a bit confusing at first because there's just a lot going on, and it's certainly not set up like what I'm used to. Now over here, from what I can suss out, we've got this terminal strip, and we got the death cap, and these would be the different voltages from the primaries of the power transformer. So if you're in the United States or Europe, you'd have different voltages. I would assume later amps would have a selector switch or something to go through that, but this is just running here and hardwired. So following the wires, this red right here has to be the US voltage primary, and then it's going to this jumper, this black wire, and then it's going to this terminal, the jumper is, which is then this black wire, which is going right here to the top of the polarity switch. This is where the hot was running. I believe it was the hot was running for the 2-prong. And so that's one primary, would be this red right here. And then the orange wire coming also out of that side of the power transformer is bypassing all of this and running straight here to the polarity switch. So I'm assuming that's got to be the other primary. The death cap here is connected right here to this red wire, which is running to the middle position of the polarity switch. So that's just for the death cap to have it in I guess, as part of the circuit or not. We're not going to really, there's no reason to have a polarity switch once you have a 3-prong in there. So effectively what we'll be doing is actually removing this connection, this jumper wire. At least we'll remove that, and then we'll connect the neutral directly to this, which is the primary. And then we're going to run the hot to the fuse tip. And then the fuse sleeve is already running right here. I believe this is where it's running. Let's just confirm that. Yep. So it's already running to the power switch, and then this other end of the power switch already has the other primary. So effectively it's just like you would on any other amplifier, just a lot of extra wires everywhere. So just to restate that. Oh, and then of course, so we'll have the earth connected to chassis. I think I'm just going to solder directly to the chassis like I would on a Fender. Hot is going right here, and then neutral is going right here with the jumper wire removed. So that's the game plan. Let's get to it. So I'm thinking about it some more. It just makes more sense to hold off on doing the 3-prong until I've done all of the other work on the amplifier, just because it's so annoying having a big, long 3-prong wire hanging off on the side, especially on such a small workbench like I have here. So we'll get everything done on the board first, and then we'll finish the night by doing the 3-prong. So let's shift things over. Let's go ahead and just start from this side and move our way down. So we've got this cathode bypass cap right here, and then the cathode bias resistor on top of it. We're going to try and salvage this resistor if we can, and then this cap is obviously going to have to be replaced. We've got some replacements here. Now this is a really high value cap. It's like 330 microfarad. So I've got a replacement 250, which is basically the same size. In fact, we might even try and stuff it inside of this little cover just for fun. Just purely for fun. People, relax. It's my amp. It's going nowhere. This amp is gonna be a forever amp, just like my other amps, like they all are. And yeah, so that's the plan. We'll have to go ahead and remove these. No big deal. And then we'll get that done. So here it is out of the amplifier. Really cool little piggyback setup. We're gonna again try and salvage the resistor. So I'm gonna cut the very end of the cap just to kind of free up the resistor from the cap. See if we can hopefully do that. There we go. So we got the cap and now the resistor, and we can go ahead and easily desolder these legs now. So here is the old versus the new. Actually pretty similar. This is a 330 microfarad, again 250 microfarad. Go ahead and swap that over. All right, just like that, we've got the swapped bypass cap here with the original resistor, with the shell stuffed, just for fun. Yeah, that looks good. Looks factory. So we can go ahead and get this prepped for our first ever turret install. Much less margin for error on these than you do with the fenders with the big old eyelets. It's a pretty small surface area to get to fit in, but no big deal. We can get this. Just using our handy dandy Sharpie marks on there. Just make sure that's all lined up. Oh wow, it's actually quite deep. Okay, that's good to know. So once I have one side in, I can easily just heat up the other side, slide it in. Done with the first ever cap swap in a vintage Marshall, or any Marshall for that matter. A big deal to me and nobody else. Perfect. Okay, let's move on. So moving on to the other bypass cap, the 0.68 that was added to convert to super lead spec. My theory after talking to the owner a bit more, it was a long time ago, so details are a little fuzzy. He didn't actually know that this was converted to super lead spec. So my running theory, which seems to line up kind of with everything he's telling me, is he went into the store, he bought this amp in the full stack. All they had was a super bass, which is what he said. And I think the store just converted it. In 73, they added the master volume. The pot is from 1973. The service tag on it is 1973. The cabs are 1973. So I think he bought this amp and the cabs in 73 in the shop, or if not the shop he bought it from, but the service center, Valley Sound, that did the master volume. I think they just did the entire swap because I bet it was extremely common if anybody found a super bass for them to just convert it to a super lead. You got a guitar, you're a guitar player, and you buy the bass model because that's what they had available, and then you had it converted. So I'm guessing because these caps are old, I'm guessing that's what happened. So with that in mind, these are added turrets. I don't really know what we're gonna find under them, so we'll have to kind of take our time and try not to disturb everything too much because it doesn't look too bad. Just add some solder, see if we can pull this out or not. Okay, so I was just kind of hooked on there. How about this side? There we go. I don't know if there's a date code on this at all that you guys could read. 05P68 is probably the model number. Yeah, we'll go ahead and set this aside and clean off these. We got this one added wire as well that I mentioned before. Going to, what is that, pin 8, so the cathode, obviously, cathode bypass cap. So let's just clean all this up, get the solder out of the way so we have kind of a fresh starting point. We can get rid of this glob of silicone too. Oh, okay, so this is connected to ground via this lead right here. So that's what that is. Okay, that's why this was an original solder joint this side, but not on this side. They just made a jumper for the ground from here to here under the board. So that's fine to stay. So that's good to know. That should have been obvious to me. Kind of reflow that a little bit. Go ahead and redo this wire. I've got some higher quality wire we can use instead of that. So it's not quite a match, it's not perfect, but it is pretty close, this yellow wire I have here. So we'll go ahead and use that instead. Let's go and remove the tube from the socket before we start soldering to that pin. These sockets are very tight, wow. It's a good thing. Okay, so we've got the 0.68 installed, and now we've just got to add in the resistor. Now, I'm going to try and look up online to see if they actually mount these with it like this, or if they mount them on the side or underneath. So we got this installed. There's not really a ton of place to put it on. So it's probably going to be installed on the cap itself, just like I did here. But I'm going to look up a couple photos first just to confirm. So it looks like on all the photos I can find, they are mounted kind of underneath or to the side. So we're just going to go straight underneath the cap. I'm going to give it a little bit of a bow because this is a full lead length resistor. It's kind of sad to cut it so short, but that's what it calls for. And we'll just kind of fish it between. You guys can't see what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to do it. You'll see close-ups later on. All right, that looks excellent. I'm really happy with how that came out. So we got the first 0.68 and the first replacement cathode resistor swapped in there. So we're going to go ahead and take a break here. And when we come back, we'll get rid of this, do the exact same process here, this resistor, and just kind of work our way down. It looks like it was basically tacked onto the resistor leads just underneath it. And then obviously we got some glue or silicone there. So we'll first just separate that. I'm pretty sure this Lemco cap is original, though I'm not 100% sure. I believe Lemco is the brand that does the dog bone caps that are in this amp as well. So it would make sense to me, but I don't know for sure. All right, that one was a good bit trickier because both of these resistors, unbeknownst to me, were cut really short. So really couldn't even fully get inside the top of the turret there. I was able to get one inside plus the cap, and then the other one is kind of sandwiched between both the cap and resistor leads here. So it had a mechanical connection and has a soldered connection as well. I'm confident it's not going anywhere. Not ideal. Probably should keep an eye out for some more Pyre resistors to replace those. But for now, I'm pretty happy with that. So we can move on here to this 33K and then continue from there. So I'm trying to just take a moment here and decipher what exactly has been done to this circuit, what is super bass still, and what has been converted to super lead, because not all of it has been converted to super lead. And this is an example. So this 250 picofarad cap right here, this red dog bone, it's connected. We've got this purple wire, which is going right here to the treble pot. So this is the treble cap, and then it's going to here. And then there is a resistor we just removed that bridges these two turrets here. And then these caps go to the, I believe, base and middle pots here. And this resistor right here on the super bass model is 56K. So it's got a 250 picofarad treble cap, and then whatever you want to call this resistor, I don't know the proper term for it. That is 56K. On a super lead, this is a 500 picofarad cap, and this is a 33K. So they replaced the resistor with a 33K, but left the treble cap. I'm thinking that we will keep this as super bass, this part of the circuit right here, since it's got the 250 picofarad. I think it's probably going to work better, perhaps per the schematic, with the 56K. And then, so it's going to be a bit of a hybrid, like I said earlier on, between super bass and super lead. That's totally fine. As we go further into this project, we can kind of hone it in, but it's been a hybrid for literally decades, for longer than I've been alive. So I'm okay with starting there, and then we can slowly morph it into either fully super bass, fully super lead, or maintain a hybrid if we like that. So let's go ahead and get a 56K. I have an Iskra we'll put right there. And yeah, and then I think we'll probably call it a night because we made some good progress. Perfect, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and move on to this mess over here. So here is where things get a little bit less clear cut for me. Obviously we have the master volume that was added in 1973. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this for now, and I want to test it and see if it works at all, if it's even semi-useful. If it is, I'll probably just leave it. But if it's not, then we might just replace it, since there's already a hole for a Larmar style where you replace these two resistors right here. Now, the schematic calls for a 220 pair of 220K resistors here. Here you can see we have 100K carbon comps that were replaced. When you do the Larmar style, typically you have a 250K dual gain pot to replace the 220K resistors here. Now, obviously with this 100K value, it's a bit different. As I understand, the earlier, or I guess the super leads, maybe the super base as well, not as familiar with those, that came with 6550s, they would have had 100K, or I believe it was 82K in the schematic resistors here. So I'm not sure exactly what this would have had originally, probably 220Ks. I'm not sure why they would have replaced them with 100Ks. There's probably more to that story that I don't quite know yet. But either way, this is going to be the experimentation zone. So master volume, keep as is, or switch to a post-phase inverter. And then that'll also inform us with these resistors here. So for now, master volume is staying as is. These resistors are staying as is. We will remove this gunk though, and we are going to be replacing these two caps here. So I've got two options there. We've got mustards in the 22 or actually 27 nanofarad value. These are 22 nanofarad right here. 22 is the super lead spec. And then we also have 0.1s, which is the super base spec. So I'm kind of leaning towards switching this to the super base spec with the 0.1s. So I think we'll start there. And then if we feel like it's too boomy, too bassy, whatever else, then we can, swap some other things, swap those around to transition that. But we do have both. So we've got the 0.1s here, and then I've shown you guys already, we got the 0.27s, which is as close as I could find to the 0.22s, or 0.022s, I should say. So that's the plan. Let's remove some of this gunk and clean this up a little bit, and then get these caps out and see how that works. Perfect. That looks pretty good. Obviously a little unfortunate. The color of these two is quite a bit lighter than the rest. They all have a bit of a yellow tinge to them. This one the most by far. These are, I guess, a bit more cream maybe. But 13P date code, I believe that dates them to 1973, if I remember correctly. So very close to what, as a 72 amp, this would have had. But yeah, that's a very small thing, but I know somebody in the comments is going to say it, so I'm going to get ahead of you. I beat you to it. Yes, I know the color is a little different. So the last little bits we can do before kind of firing it up is, I guess, the diodes potentially. I mean, they test fine, so I'll probably swap those, but I don't know if I'll swap it right away. And then definitely these two bias caps. So I think we'll go ahead and tackle these real quick and then call it a night. Everything looks good. We got the positive going the correct direction to ground. Got the resistor back. So I think we can go ahead and call it a night. Lots of good progress done. Still some more things to do. For sure, these diodes I want to replace, and we will do that, just not tonight. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how everything came out. I think the amp is looking really, really good so far. So awesome. We'll go ahead and end here tonight, and hopefully pick it up tomorrow. All right.